If I could ask, what drew you to the Asia-Pacific Center for Security Studies?
The mission drew me to the Daniel K. Inouye Asia-Pacific Center for Security Studies. What an awesome place that we get to come here with professionals from the region and study Indo-Pacific security broadly. So we get to look at a wide range of topics, from maritime security, which is my specialty, to counterterrorism, to disaster management, to cyber and space, and everything in between. And we get to interact with awesome people. We get to interact with internationals from all over the Indo-Pacific region and to establish those bonds and network. And I'm still in touch with all of the fellows that have come here that I've worked with. So what an awesome opportunity we have here to advance the United States position in the region.
What keeps you up at night, Professor?
You know, I study maritime security, and I will tell you that if you look at the region on a map, you'll see that this is a maritime region, right? It's blue. There's a lot of ocean out there, and the oceans are increasingly contested. So we see state challenges, mainly from the PRC, making unlawful claims in the South China Sea, expanding their influence through the Indian Ocean and to the adjacent Arctic Ocean, really threatening Taiwan, which is a maritime problem, and the Japanese Senkaku Islands. Not to mention, of course, all of the non-traditional maritime security challenges: illegal fishing, piracy, smuggling of drugs, people, and money. All of those things present huge challenges to us. And of course, it's also worth mentioning that climate change is a huge factor in the future, and that's mainly taking place in the maritime domain in this region as well. So those are the things that concern me, and again, I come to it from the perspective from maritime security.
Professor, what is it that you think makes the Indo-Pacific region so special?
Well, the region, this is maybe a nuanced answer, but first of all, I grew up here in Hawaii my whole life. So I grew up in the middle of the Indo-Pacific region, and I've always considered this home. I've been very fortunate in my military career to be stationed here 3 times and to be stationed overseas in Asia. And now, of course, to be stationed here at the Daniel K. Inouye Asia-Pacific Center for Security Studies, to look at the issues of the region, right? The people are probably the most special part. It's a beautiful region if you go and visit it. It's just something that's so interesting, right? The complexity of the region is something that I think is very unique, and that's what makes this region so special.
What are the top 3 challenges facing the Indo-Pacific today?
Okay, well, specifically, the top 3 challenges in the region, from probably, most dangerous, I would say the PRC threat to Taiwan and the Senkaku Islands. That is a flashpoint that could bring large-scale conflict to the region. The second one is the South China Sea, right? It's sort of the epicenter of maritime security challenges, and we see overlapping claims by people. We see one state that has a large unlawful claim and is really consolidating that. That's sort of the center of gray zone competition that the United States is involved in. It's the epicenter of strategic competition. And of course, a huge portion of the world's trade passes through the South China Sea. It's an environmental treasure that is being ruined by one state in particular. And so for all of those reasons, it's an extremely dangerous region. And then the third challenge, I think, is the challenge of Oceania, what many in the world would call the South Pacific, the Pacific Islands. So these Pacific Islands are increasingly threatened by climate change. They are becoming more and more a battleground for global geostrategic competition. And so, I worry about the future of the Pacific Islands. And it's something, of course, like the other issues I mentioned, that the United States can and should be very involved with in addressing these challenges.
What advice would you give to the up-and-coming generations?
Yeah, so what advice would I give? 1, stay positive. We are going to get there, and places like DKI APCSS are here so that we can approach all of the challenges that we see in the region and make a better future. We're building that resilient capacity that's going to enable our region to be secure and prosperous, and I'm very hopeful and positive for the future.